Welcome to the Heart of Money podcast, where we discuss the personal and emotional elements of money and the impact that money has on every area of your life. I'm Austin Black, a personal finance coach that helps couples overcome their fear and frustration of financial management so they can take complete control of their money. What started as a desire to learn the fundamentals of money management has turned into a passion for helping couples work together to achieve financial success and strengthen their relationship with each other. Whether you're looking for the best strategies to manage your money as a couple, or you're tired of struggling to gain traction and want to overcome the fear and frustration associated with finances, I'm here to help, and this show is for you. Ready to learn more? Then let's talk about the heart of money. Well, most people think that in order to become debt-free, have financial security, get anywhere in life with your money, you have to either make a lot of it or spend very little of it. And the reality is that neither one of those are completely true. In fact, I've got a training I'm going to walk you through called the Financial Freedom Blueprint that's going to show you how to become debt-free and have financial security without the need for a huge income or restrictive lifestyle. I'm offering this training live once a month. So head on over to freedommoneycoach.com/training and you can get signed up for free. In this training, I'm going to walk you through the exact strategies that I teach my clients on how to get on the same page with their spouse, create a plan for their money, and accomplish their financial goals through behavior management. It's going to be so much fun. You're going to learn a ton. You're going to walk away inspired, motivated, and encouraged to achieve your financial goals this year. So head on over to freedommoneycoach.com/training. Hey folks, welcome back to the Heart of Money, episode 91. I'm your host, Austin Black, and I'm joined by Mr. Brian Madeleine from Madeleine Financial Coaching. We got to know each other a little bit the last few months, doing some coaching stuff together. And Brian, I'm excited to have you on because I don't have a lot of guys on this podcast. I have a lot of women guests just because of the industry that we're in, I think. But I know we're going to have a super fun conversation because of what we talked about in the past. So thanks so much for being on the show. Welcome to the Heart of Money. Introduce yourself a little bit and tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And it is a weird thing that we can get into some other time, is like it is kind of saturated with a lot of female coaches. So it is good to hop on and talk to Austin today. I appreciate you having me on. And I started my own coaching company probably full-time about a little over 2 years ago, and really got into the mindset. I was noticing a lot of people didn't really understand, didn't have a budget, didn't have any idea where to organize their money. And then went through a really crazy time the last 2 years, a lot of us, in inflation, right?
Yep.
And all of a sudden, I kind of switched gears last year because I noticed everyone that was coming to me was more and more couples, like a lot more couples, and they weren't on the same page and didn't know how to organize. They were racked up with debt. And so I'm a money coach that primarily focuses on those couples as well, and still help the individuals and the businesses out when they need it, obviously. But yeah, I just have a passion for really helping them guide back to the stepping stones they were on at maybe some point or never were on and want to get there. So,
I find it interesting hearing that you started kind of 2 years ago. I've been coaching for about 4 years now, and the unique atmosphere of when you and I each got started. So I kind of got started, right before COVID, which everything changed then. And it shut the door for some and opened the door for others, I think, in the way of finances, and made people realize, hey, we either are in a good spot and can get better, or we're in a bad spot and need to kind of change some things. You kind of went into this, it's like you said about that inflation time frame. And to me, that indicates the fact that there is always some element out there that warrants the need for financial improvement, education, strengthening yourself. What have you seen? And you mentioned in the last couple of years that you've seen more couples coming to you just wanting to get on the same page with each other. But have you seen anything driving that from that society economic standpoint, or is it just the fact that people are becoming more aware of it, do you think?
That's a really good question. I would have to say it's a little bit of both. Some people are becoming more and more aware. Some people get to the point where they say, hey, we're totally maxed out. We really need to ask for help from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I don't know about you. I know we've talked about this, but a majority of people that come my way are from referral bases, people that I work around, and my friends and family and cousins and everything like that kind of just come to them and say, hey, whether a financial advisor or whoever they are, hey, I need help with this and this. And if they can't do it, that's the beauty of referrals, right? Because then you guys help each other out. We all help each other out some way. But yeah, it's a little bit of awareness, but I think it really, inflation. So we came to a point in this society about 2 years ago, actually, basically to the month. I think April's 22 is when it really got bad. Inflation went way up, then it went more up this year, and it kept going up, and our income stayed here.
Yeah.
And it didn't really move up that much. So, and then people kind of, what I noticed is, maybe you can attest to this, is they spent like it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
and it's a natural habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a habit. Once you build it, it's like, you don't even think about it, I don't think. And so a lot of people are in desperate need of us right now. And it's just a matter of, hopefully they find us,
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because you've got the people that have a good handle on their money. They just need to fine tune, where the cracks and the holes are, or improve the areas that are getting stronger, but just continue to need improvement. And then you got the people that don't have any control. They just are living that, I don't want to say the paycheck to paycheck mentality, but they're letting life just kind of go and free, and where they need to spend money, they spend money. If they don't need to spend, they don't spend it. But it's just this kind of ebb and flow of whatever's going on is what's going on and happening. And we're kind of at the mercy of the situation and environment. And in good times, that all works out, right? There's nothing that really sparks this awareness of, oh, hey, we need to get our debt paid off, or we need to just have better control around our money because times are good, everything is fine. But in those moments where inflation takes off, or when jobs start to crunch down, or something in the economy starts to change, that's when the awareness really kind of comes to light, like, oh crap, now what? But the funny side of that, maybe it's not funny, nothing changes from what you're supposed to do with your money. It's just more visible.
The situation.
Now.
It's the situation change.
Exactly.
Yeah. Doesn't mean your lifestyle changed every day. So,
right.
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, really, your day-to-day living, whether you have kids or, all these other factors, and that's a big part of it, is everybody's different, I believe. No one's the same. No two people are the same in terms of when it comes to money. But yeah, your living style, basically, I don't know. Yeah, like kind of said, some people just kind of have that spending mentality. Some people need tune-ups. But I think that if we keep spending, some of us, the way that we do, it's going to eventually catch up to a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think it already has. And that's where a lot of people, especially in the last, and that relates back to awareness, is like, oh my God, like we have to stop because I just realized I'm 40 years old and I have no retirement, or I have a kid that's going to college in 3 or 4 years. We don't have any, like, how are we going to do this? So something big always happens, I feel like, to kind of smack them in the head and kind of say, hey, we got to do something like now, not next week, not next month, not next year. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I know something that you and I both face as the central part of where couples seem to be lacking, where we really help them, is in that communication area. I've had so many people on this podcast, myself included, that people probably get tired of us talking about it on here, but it is so fundamental. It's such a critical piece of the foundation of success with your money. Being able to talk with your spouse, being able to understand money yourself, being able to communicate and relate to it effectively. In your work, how have you seen communication playing a role within your couples, and how they are succeeding or even struggling with money management?
Yeah, this is a conversation. How long do we got? Oh, no, I'm just playing. But no, I was thinking about this because I know me and you had talked that this is a category and question we were going to talk about. And to be honest with you, I think the best answer I've had to my brain is people were already busy.
Mm-hmm.
They got more busy during COVID because a lot of people panicked. They had kids
Mm-hmm.
in the home, school. They had to figure out how to go to work and still, teach kids at school and teach them at home and back and forth. And then they got busier, and then inflation hit. So not only are they busy, they're maybe even working harder or overtime to just stay alive.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you don't got any time to talk to your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I were actually just talking about this a lot the last few weeks. Is like, we have a soon to be 4-year-old, which is a crazy age. Blessed girl. I love her to death, but she's wild. And then a 10-and-a-half-year-old. So that is just starting football, and he's in school. We're helping him study. And it's like, before you know, it's already Monday through Friday's gone. And you're like, wow, do we even have 15 minutes to sit down and talk?
Yeah.
And I think that what I have kind of circled that all back around to answer your question is, we just live in such a go society
Mm-hmm.
that we need to make it a priority, whether it's a Sunday night at 7 o'clock or when the kids are to bed, to sit down even once a week and say, all right, let's talk about our finances. What do we got coming up? What are you worried about? What do we need to think about in the future? And we lost that as a society, especially from what I've seen. You said you've been 4 years plus or so. I've noticed a lot of changes every year personally.
Absolutely.
But there are people that still do it and that are finally making time saying, hey, we got to talk about this. And if we don't feel comfortable talking about it, then we need to go get some help. So that's good.
Well, and he was thinking back to, the last few months, my wife and I, we've got 3 kids, 5 years and under. So there is no free time to do anything. So you got that Monday through Friday, it comes and flies by. And we said, okay, what happened this week? And we made a plan here a few months ago because, we meet on a monthly basis to go over budget and goals and just kind of get everything, to be on the same page amongst ourselves. I managed most of the budget and the tracking and everything, but obviously we do it together and are very much involved in that. But we were having a really hard time having an effective conversation because it took time. We got kids running around. It's just hard to make that happen. Yeah. So we decided, hey, we're going to carve out an hour or two once a month to just sit down, go through all this, make sure we know what's happening, know what's going on, agree on what needs to take place this month, just get kind of that snapshot of what the budget looks like for this month. I'm not sure that we have yet got it under about 2.5 hours between the dinner and the kids and everything going on. Right. And there's a lot that you got to talk about. And that's just one time a month. So you look back to people try and do that on a weekly basis or even, multiple times during the week. It is extremely difficult to carve out 10 minutes or even 5 minutes sometimes just to say, hey, where are we at? What's going on? Is there anything happening? But if we don't, boy, that's going to kick us in the butt. If we don't take some time on somewhat of a regular basis just to connect, to converse, and to say, here's where we're at, here's where we need to be. Because that money's going to keep on doing whatever we told to do, whether we gave it instructions or not. That's the trick of the deal.
Life is gonna happen, and let me, if you don't mind me keying a point in here.
Yeah.
But what's gonna happen is life happens, right? Mm-hmm. And I think not only is the busyness of everyone's lifestyle, especially if you have kids, I can't imagine 3 under 5. Holy moly! But another thing is people are scared right now. And especially, I'm going to keep going back to inflation, especially the last 2 years. It's like they don't want to open their statements. They don't want to sit down for 15 and 20 minutes because they know we just did that card repair and this just happened. It's like, it's awkward where usually one person in the couple is a little more open to, hey, I want to have the conversation. The other person is like, we don't need help, or no, we got this, basically. And it's a pride thing.
Yep.
And it's really bit a couple of my couples the last few months in the butt, and we had to overcome a few things and say, hey, like, there's a lot of people struggling. You can read all the Google stats, right?
Yep.
I mean, 100,000 or less. I mean, people are probably 70% paycheck to paycheck by now.
I'd say at
I'd
least.
say it's at least 70. You say, well, it says 61. No, me and Austin can tell you it's way more than
Yeah, I
61%.
promise you.
I mean, everything's more expensive.
Someone's lying.
Yeah, someone's lying, because I'd say 85% of people making that much or less is, But anyways, so people are scared, and they're rightfully so. And that's kind of just another reason why it's important to have those conversations as much as possible, even if it's 10 or 15 minutes here. And then next week, let's talk about, this birthday party or this coming up, or our car's giving us trouble. And a lot of people are getting whammy after whammy, whether they have used car problems. There's a reason I said that, because we had used car problems in the last couple months, or, kid falls. I mean, I don't know, kid breaks his arm or something. You got to go to the hospital. Like, there's just every day the refrigerator starts leaking. This happens. Like, the whammies happen to everyone. And I want people to understand that listen to this, is it's not just like you, and it's not just you and your partner or anything like that. Like, a lot of people are struggling, and we see that. So,
and this one of my key phrases: money is personal, money is emotional, and affects every area of our life. So no matter what happens, you're going to have to deal with financial decisions, financial challenges, financial successes. And the goal that we should have is to be in control of those decisions, to plan for those challenges, and to be prepared to take on the successes that come our way. Because money is going to filter in through those car repairs, through those surprise medical bills, through the grocery bill that keeps going up, through the whatever happens, money is always going to be there. And if you're in a spot to where you are financially, I'll use the word strained, because I feel like we're in a spot where I don't even really like talking about the paycheck to paycheck mentality in society. Primarily because the people I work with, aren't in that mold necessarily.
Yeah.
But I think there is a significant mindset around the financial strain that we're experiencing, because, like you said, it's getting harder and harder to live with a certain level of income due to the expenses and to the lifestyle that we often bring in. But the reality is that if you are not able to control where your money is going, no matter how much you make, you're never going to be able to get out of that financial strain. And it is not easy, but it is imperative to find how you're going to start getting traction, start getting momentum, start being confident in some level of control and of confidence and of just comfort, honestly, in where you're at and where you're going. Because I feel like a lot of times people, they don't want to look at it because they don't know what they're going to do differently if it's not the way that they want it to be. And that's a scary scenario to be in, I think.
Yeah. I think that, and that kind of comes back to, early on in my coaching, you may do this too. Early on, and when we start coaching my clients, I really look at the 6 to 12 month goal set. I mean, it's great to think about retirement, but if you're 30 or 35 years old and have 50 grand in debt, we got some other stuff we got to take care of first up front. So I really try and focus in on, you guys, what do you want to do in the next 6 to 12 months or 1 to 2 years? And they go through it, and you say, all right, well, how are we going to get there? We got some stuff to work on, right? And they're like, yeah. But I think that not enough people really laser focus, because all they think of is maybe they wake up one day and they're, like I said, 40 years old. Oh my God, I have no retirement. Well, retirement's 30 years away. I mean, retirement's important, but at the same time, let's dig deeper into how we can get you to that part of the hill, because I'm sure there's other smaller hills in front of you that you got to conquer first to get to there. So,
and I had a previous guest in here talk about one of the most important things is that couples agree that something needs to change. And you mentioned earlier, there's a lot of times where couples we'll have one person that, is willing to open up the bank statement and look at what's going on, where are we at, where we need to change. And the other individual's like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to process that. And I'm thinking even back to, let's just say, for example, situations similar to mine where the husband's the one kind of leading, managing, directing, guiding, has a good pulse on where the money is. Maybe doesn't have it under control, but at least knows, hey, this is what's going on. And the wife is going, I've got so much going on in my life that to have that placed upon me as well is just more than I can handle. It could very easily be the other way around too. I'm just going to kind of give a singular situation. In that moment, Brian, since you and I are both men, how would you recommend that a couple approach communicating around their finances in a spot where the husband needs to kind of be able to lead that, but the wife is like, I can't think about it. I can't talk about it. I can't deal with that. I've got way too much else going on in my life. What would you recommend to him?
Take a breath. No, it's not that easy, guys. It's not that easy. But I honestly do say take a breath. But yeah, that's sticky because we'll use what we're talking about here. Let's just say the in your situation, Austin, you run it, and maybe, I'm not saying your wife, but we'll use a fantasy person is like overwhelmed and say, I can't even think about it. Like, I just need you to do this, or I need you to pay the bills, or whatever it is. I would gear in and say, listen, it's your partner, whether you're married or whoever it is, it's your partner. You guys are in this through thick and thin. You're in this together. I need you, this is the husband, let's say, I need you to understand that everything's going to be all right. And I know you're really busy, but how can I make this easier for you to fit your lifestyle so I can bring you onto the same page, or something along those lines? I like to have the open conversation and let them talk to each other on the call, and just say, hey, like, what can I do to make your life easier? That's one of my favorite questions. And because I want you to be part of, we need to both be on this journey, because it all comes back to the middle when you're married or a partner. You can sit there and say, hey, Joey or Johnny controls all my finances, and, he pays the bills and like whatever, but it doesn't all work if you got kids and stuff like that. In the long run, it's all going to come back together because you have household expenses, you have kids together, you have important things that you guys need to make a decision on. And you got to understand that you guys are working together either way. So it's just reassuring that, because you're right. People get really stressed out, or they're just like, I'm so busy. Like, I work 50 hours a week. I got to cook. I got to clean. I got to, take care of the kids, or whatever the situation is. Just bring them down and say, hey, what can I do? And it might not be, financially ready. Hey, what can I do around the house to make your life easier? Because you just told me 5 things that are stressing you out. Well, what if I take 1 or 2 things off the plate? And then that way you can kind of, bring it down a little bit, and then we can talk more finances. And I want you to be a part of this. So.
And I keep just going back to the same thought of, to one of your earlier points, the fact that our lives have gotten so busy, somewhat complicated. We have all these factors that are against us from a economic standpoint, from a culture standpoint. Sometimes, we're almost fighting to achieve what we know we should be able to accomplish, if that makes sense. I feel like sometimes, and it's really hard, I think, to stay committed to that and stay motivated to accomplish that, and to do the hard things, and to say no to other things that are hard to say no to.
Yeah.
But as I think to stuff, in my personal life, I'm sure you've expressed the same thing. There comes a time when you got to say, what is more important? To do the things that we want to do and to let the money be what it is, or to take control of our financial situation so that we can have a less stressful life. We can be more at peace. We can be more entertained because we're more happy, when we're satisfied, we're more fulfilled. But because we are so surrounded by this just not really a keep up with the Joneses mentality, but just there's always something to do, go see, and be type of thing. And I think that we lose sight of being in control of our life whenever our life starts to control us. And the same thing goes to your money. So I don't know, what are your thoughts to that?
Yeah, we have a very influential society, is how I would summarize that.
Yeah.
And one of the best quotes that I've ever heard, and I don't know how I didn't hear this until Instagram about a year or two ago, came from Jim Carrey, whether you like him or not. He basically said along the lines, if you're not willing to change your lifestyle for 1 year to live the life of your dreams in the future, you care too much about what other people think. And I just think that is such a good, and that's relates so much to what you were saying and saying no. And we live in a society where it's like, well, so I'll give you a great example. I just did a podcast episode on this, actually, is my kid is about to be 11 in a few months, and he's been bugging us about a cell phone. All my friends have a cell phone. All my friends, and they do, right? And basically, the part of my podcast episode a week or two ago was along the lines of, we live in a society with peer pressure. Not even just on our kids' level, which is scary enough to try and get your kids through peer pressure. And, when we grew up with all that stuff too. But just, well, yeah, we'll get you a phone. That's fine. And some of these kids, I'm talking, these 10-year-olds have new iPhones.
Yeah.
Those are $1,000 phones.
Yeah.
And my son didn't realize the other day. And I said, well, there's a monthly cost to the phone. He goes, what are you talking about? I go, how do you think you text, go on Google, make phone calls? It's called data, man. And this is how much it would be if we did it. And he goes, oh. And I'm like, you're going to be working really hard on some summer chores to pay that off monthly if we end up getting you one, right? A basic one or whatever. But my point is it goes back to, we as adults have kind of succumbed to peer pressure. What do you mean you can't go out to dinner with us this weekend or something like that? Or what do you mean we can't? It's not that we sit down with our spouse or partner and say, we can't afford that. We can't do that. It's just that's not part of my future goals. And that's where it comes back to the set. I got big time, me and my wife have big time goals in the next year or two. And that doesn't fit our budget right now. Going out to a nice dinner with friends or something like that. Now, every once in a while, obviously you can't just ignore your friends for the rest of your life. But there are times, like you said, go back. You just got to say, hey, we got to say no. Just this one time at least, we just had this happen, or we got kids football or soccer or whatever coming up. I think that we just live in such a peer pressure society that we have to pretend like nothing is going wrong at our households, right?
Yeah.
When it's a kind of a pretend society where a lot of us are pretending oh yeah, everything's good and all that, but a lot of us are struggling at home. I mean, we see it.
Oh yeah. Well, and I just, with that thought, I'll try to form the best way to digest this. So, if you look back historically, at least a generation, if not two before us, there was very minimal societal pressure to have certain things, to do certain things, to be certain things.
Yep.
And gradually over time, we've gotten to where that's almost expected. And if you don't have that or do that or are that, you're kind of the oddball out. And it is, you flat out, you have to want to be, I'll use the word traditionalist.
Yeah.
To win with that, because otherwise you're going to be so pressured into having the latest and greatest, to going on the vacations, to having the Instagram family life, to having all those things that you think your friends actually have, and yet none of them are truly satisfied in that. But we always say it comes back to choices, which it does. But I feel like our choices had to be based around what do we want, not what does someone else have. And the more that we try to compare, we're going to be so disappointed. We're going to be so overwhelmed and burnt out and exhausted and trying to accomplish that, because I can guarantee you they don't actually have it either. They're just playing that game, looking at that part. they're trying to do what you're trying to do, and neither one of you are going to end up winning whenever it's all said and done. How would you encourage someone to define themselves within that context and, make their choices based upon what they want to accomplish versus trying to have that image, that persona of their life?
I feel like you set me up for this question because Austin knows a little background. Austin knows how much I'm trying to get away from social media. And so I feel like you set this up a little bit, but that's totally cool. What Austin was just saying is not meant to be negative, I guess. I want to back that up. It's more so, so my philosophy is you probably have your health. You might have a great family. You got a roof over your head, a lot of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
I focus in on that. It's like, what do you already have? And then and maybe if the challenging question might be, I know social media and seeing fancy things and people on Instagram that say they're making it and everything's great. That's another part of social media and kind of just getting away from your phone. And like, we could talk about that separately, but being more positive about what you have is what I tell people. You already got a great thing. Write down a positive list, as I call it, and say, man, I'm really blessed to have all this stuff. I might be struggling with this or that and all that. And also just knowing to stop putting so much pressure on yourself and stop being so negative in terms of everything happens to me. Nothing seems to be going right, because I hear this a lot. Like, I feel like giving up. I actually heard this, last week. I won't get into it because, it's not one of my clients, but a potential person that I talked to, and a lot of negativity. And we hear it often on some of our calls. I'm sure you've seen it, where it's like back against the wall. Like, I have no hope. Like, I've heard that a lot. Like, what am I supposed to do? I will say, being positive, if you kind of venture a positive attitude, I noticed that all of a sudden things will start happening good for you and you're positive.
Yep.
Now, you might not dig out of 50 grand in debt in a week or two, but if you start thinking of other ways. Yeah, right. All of a sudden you wake up and one of our clients are gone. It's like, what happened? Oh, we don't need you anymore, right? No, I'm just playing.
Good for you.
Yeah. Remember, here's my address. Just remember who got you there. 10% cut, right? No. But I encourage people just to be positive and love life and love what you have, because when you start comparing yourself to other people, I think very little amount of times you're going to see that that's not reality. And like you said, probably, I'm not going to put a percentage on it and play the percentage game, but probably a larger percent of people that you talk to and say, hey, we're great, this happened, we got promotion, or people you watch on Instagram aren't doing that great. And if they are making a lot of money, and Austin can back this up, is people that make a lot of money still don't know how to organize it and still spend like crazy. So stop comparing yourself to people, be happy for what you have, and just live life.
I think really the only person that we need to compare ourselves to is who we want to be 5-10 years from now.
I like that. Yep.
If you've got a goal to chase, make that be your comparison. Don't make everyone else around you be your comparison, because they're doing one of two things. They're comparing themselves to someone else or to who they want to be 5-10 years from now. Yeah. And to really be successful, whether it's in family, life, finances, anything, you've got to go for what you want, for what you aspire, and let that be what brings your happiness, satisfaction, fulfillment. Anything less than that's going to leave you disappointed, I feel like.
Yeah. That goes back to goal setting. It sounds corny, I think, but like, what do you want out of life?
Yeah.
What do you want? You and your partner sit down and just talk about it. What do you want in 5 or 10 years? Maybe it might be, hey, like, we want to go on a fancy trip in 5 years. Cool. How are we going to get there?
Right.
Don't worry about other people that are posting, oh, we're in Bali and all this other stuff and all that. That's not realistic, guys. It's not.
And if you're like me, you're gonna try to make a nice trip as cheap as possible.
Yeah. Budget trips, guys. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, no. Yeah, because it's like, yeah, we were the same way. We were supposed to go somewhere last year for our 10-year anniversary. We were gonna go to Hawaii, and this is, that was our goal for our 10-year anniversary. Well, some personal things came up, and then we were gonna end up going to North Carolina for a while because we're like, all right, let's go to North Carolina, and flights were ridiculously expensive last year. It was like, whoo, I don't know if we can afford to go to Hawaii anymore. Yeah. But so then we were going to go to North Carolina, and something personal came up where we had to stay nearby. So our 10-year anniversary, you guys, went from Hawaii to North Carolina to the west side of the state of Michigan, which is beautiful, by the way, if you haven't been there. Like, yeah, just like a lot of lakes. And so we had a long weekend there. So we still got it, but it was a third of what we were going to spend.
Yeah.
Because of just life happening. Stop comparing yourself. I mean, things happen. We'll get to Hawaii eventually, but now is not the time. So,
and I would bet that you had a different type of enjoyment from that trip. Would I be correct?
Absolutely. So the west side of the state, little city called Holland. If you haven't been there, you should. It's beautiful. Is like our go-to vacation when my wife and I first met. Like we went there almost every year, sometimes every other year. We've probably been there 5 times together as a couple. So we went out to, Grand Rapids, and we said, you know what, let's go to the beach. And we went to the beach where we first had our biggest vacation, and where we took our son when he was youngest. It was his first trip out west and stuff, and the beach. And we just did that. And it meant more to us to stay. We still stayed at we went to a nicer hotel. That was our big leap right there. And the vacation's like, hey, if we're going to do this, let's stay at a nice hotel, nice hot tub, nice room, But it meant a lot to us, and we didn't have to spend that much to compare. We would have. It's awesome. I want to go to Hawaii. I've been to North Carolina, but I haven't been to we were going to go to the Raleigh area. I've never been to Raleigh, so we'll go back down there eventually. It's not a big deal. So.
Right, it's still an option.
Yeah,
awesome. Well, Brian, this has been such a fun conversation. I think we could talk shop for hours. And whenever I get to visit with another financial coach, like we're doing in this series, it is so fun because each person has a different kind of thought process, perspective, way of looking at things that all center around the same fundamental strategies, the same core concepts. But we all help people differently. We all serve a different kind of people. We all complement and support each other so well that I think it's great to have those conversations and to engage and share ideas and everything else. So thanks so much for being a part of that with me. Where can folks find out more about you, follow you, get with you, learn more about what you're doing and how you can help them?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having this. It's always good. I love hopping on podcasts, especially with other financial coaches, because we're a huge community, you guys. And that, like Austin said. And so basically I kind of refocused everything. But, MadelaineFinancialCoaching.com. I'm sure Austin can drop these in the comments below. That's my main website. And I'm really focusing on my YouTube, social media handle, Madeleine Financial Coaching. And I also have the Couples Money Revelation podcast, which is on Spotify. It's on Apple, and video podcasts occasionally on YouTube. So those are my main handles. And then, the other social medias too. So absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much. Enjoyed having you on the show today, and look forward to seeing how we can both continue helping couples take control of their money this year.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. And have a great one. Appreciate it.
Hey folks, did you find today's episode valuable? If so, I would truly appreciate it if you left a 5-star review and shared the episode with a friend. My goal is to help as many couples as possible in their journey to gaining complete control of their money. Also, I have a free gift that I want to share with you for taking the time to listen to today's show. I have a brand new video training that outlines 5 steps for making a budget that will give you true financial freedom. In this training, I share how you can create a budget in a matter of minutes and make it easy to implement. Who doesn't want that, right? You'll learn what categories you need to cover all the bases each month and how to protect yourself against financial stress. You can access your free gift at freedommoneycoach.com/budget guide. That's freedommoneycoach.com/budget guide.